Should President Trump come on a state visit to the UK this summer? An online petition against the move was signed by 1.8 million people, and it means that it's going to be debated in Westminster Hall of Parliament today. The Foreign Office has insisted a state visit is on the cards. But should it be? Well, joining me now are two MPs who follow these matters closely, Nadhim Zahawi and also Rushanara Ali. Welcome to you both. I mean, you might not have wanted to issue the invitation. It has been issued. Can it really be taken back at this stage?
Well, given Donald Trump's behaviour, both before he got elected and since, with his Muslim ban, defending torture and the misogynistic remarks that he's been well known to make, I think it will be an embarrassment to the Queen. It's fine to have a government-to-government visit, but it was premature to extend this invitation. And I think it's bad for Britain's image around the world, and we should take it back.
Take it back?
I don't agree. I was at the receiving end of President's order banning people from certain countries.
For a period.
Because I was born in Baghdad, I was of Iraqi origin, obviously a very proud British citizen. But nevertheless, when we are trying to counsel our greatest ally, our strongest ally, not to ban people just because of their religion or nationality, to speak the language of bans and to ban our greatest ally when, the Labour Party have to answer, why is it okay for us to have a state visit from the Saudi king, the Kuwaiti prince? Mr. Putin has been on a state visit. So why would it be wrong for us to welcome our greatest ally? And I'd like to get closer to Mr. Trump and explain to him why he's wrong. As my Prime Minister has said, to ban people from those 7 countries, it would be counterproductive for our joint effort, as is going on today in Mosul, to eliminate ISIL, both on the ground but also the ideology of ISIL.
So this is, as it were, nothing personal. This is a state-to-state matter, and we've had other questionable leaders before.
It's not a question of banning. It's a question of having not giving a state visit, not damaging the reputation of the Queen. It's fine and it's right for our government to be in dialogue with our key allies. And there are, Nadhim's right, there are many other governments where it's questionable. That's why we need to be careful about, having invitations so soon after an election. And you can guarantee one thing, Donald Trump is going to continue to be worse and worse. That's been certainly proven. He hasn't moderated what he said. Lots of people, particularly on the right, have made excuses for him. They think they can tame him, and then as soon as he gets elected, he issues this Muslim ban. And it's great that Nadhim's not affected by it, but it sends the wrong message to the Muslim world, but anyone who cares about rights. And in this country, there are almost 2 million Muslims, and if he comes here and spurts out the hostile comments and reinforces these outrageous policies, then I think it will do damage to community relations in this country too.
Do you, as a matter of interest, think it was a bit of a mistake to issue this invitation of a state visit so early on, which hasn't been done to previous American presidents, even uncontroversial ones?
Well, we've had George W. Bush come
after,
over
after 3 years or in second term. I mean, it was a bit of a rush, wasn't it, by the May
At the end of the day, he is the legitimately elected president of our greatest ally. They absolutely rightly deserve a state visit.
Do you think we were a bit over-hasty?
I don't believe that's true. And also, when Rushanara, with respect, talks about an affront to different communities, there are countries who've been afforded a state visit who ban dual nationals, British dual nationals of Israeli origin. Would people be upset about that? I think it's hypocritical to begin to single out a particular world leader. He is legitimately elected. There was a democratic election in the United States of America, and he was rightly elected. We should welcome him here. He's our greatest and deepest alliance, both in military, security, cyber, the economy. One day, hopefully, we'll have a trade deal with America. These are important things. He happens to be, and sometimes, he does, for example, the presidential order, do the wrong thing. Our Prime Minister stands up and says that is wrong, it's divisive, and it's incorrect, and it's wrong. That's the right way to deal with your ally, not to ban them. To counsel someone not to use the language of bans and then to ban them yourself is wrong.
About bans here.
No, we're
not talking about the banning, but what we are talking about
is that the
state visit
and embarrass the Queen.
The Prime Minister and the government should address Donald Trump. And you're right, you should confront him on some of these issues, but not the Queen, not dragging the Queen into this.
Now the cat's out the bag, though, and the invitation has been issued. It would be a snub to withdraw it, wouldn't it?
And we know
so let me ask you a question. Was it okay to have the Queen?
The Prime Minister.
Was it okay to have the Queen
desperately going to America, and so soon after the election, knowing what he's capable of, giving him an invitation for a state visit.
Rushanara, was it okay to have a state visit for the King of Saudi Arabia or the Emir of Kuwait?
Well, all of those
yes
issues.
Or no?
Look, history
was
shows.
It okay or
history
not?
shows.
Yes or no?
I
don't
think.
But you didn't have an opinion. You didn't have such a strong opinion about it.
Well, I'm an elected representative now, and
it's
I'm expressing it. No, it's not
completely hypocritical.
And it's not hypocritical. And what I'm saying is that it was premature, and it's a sign of desperation of this government to drag the Queen into this.
I didn't hear you complaining about the King of Saudi Arabia or the Emir of Kuwait having a state visit, or Mr. Putin.
I think we need to consider very carefully whichever government extends state visits.
Were you there for President Xi? Were you there for President Xi of China?
As I say, I don't endorse any visit.
Parliament,
I don't endorse any state visit that is damaging to the Queen's reputation. And I I think this is a sign of desperation by this government to extend
the state visit of the President of China.
You're obviously a monarchist, a staunch monarchist.
Well, I think it's really important that the monarchy and the Queen has an incredibly good reputation around the world, and that should be protected. It shouldn't be used for political purposes, which this government is doing.
So the President of China,
out of desperation.
Did you not endorse
desperation?
It is a bit surprising, isn't it? After all, the Queen is the head of state. Yet apparently she doesn't have any say in who she meets. That's decided by the Prime Minister, without even consulting her, as far as we can tell.
That's Her Majesty and Buckingham Palace and the government, I'm sure, discuss everything. And Her Majesty is well capable of handling Mr. Trump or President Xi or Mr. Putin or the Emir of Kuwait or the King of Saudi Arabia. My problem here...
She could have wrinkled her nose a bit and said, I'm not too keen on this, and Mrs May would still go ahead and issue the invitation, wouldn't she? Well,
that's above my pay grade. I don't know how these things work. All I can say to you is it would embarrass the Queen, now that the invitation has been issued in her name, for it to be withdrawn. And it's hypocritical of Labour parliamentarians to come on your show and say, oh, well, in case of Mr Trump, it's different, but President Xi of China, who has some awful policies, it's okay to welcome him, and it's okay to give him a state visit. It's wrong.
Nadhim.
It's completely hypocritical.
Isn't that, you don't think there's a difference in as much as Donald Trump is a democratic leader of our closest ally? Clearly, countries such as Saudi Arabia or China or whatever, we can't do much about them. They aren't allies. They're people with whom we have a close relationship. We have a dependency relationship of some kind or another. Whereas Donald Trump, our politicians, our politics are closely aligned. He is a democratic leader, and therefore that's we can express opinions more freely, if you like, than we do about things like Saudi Arabia. That's right, isn't it?
That's right. And you bring him closer to you. You invite him over. I want to eyeball him and talk about the presidential order that I think was wrong, as did my Prime Minister think it was wrong too. But by actually embarrassing Her Majesty, withdrawing an invitation,
it would embarrass her.
This is the grandstanding of the worst kind for the Labour Party. I hope they rethink this.
But the irony of all this is Parliament appears to have already made up its mind that he's not going to get to address both houses of Parliament.
Yes, and Parliament is revered all over the world. And if we have Donald Trump turning up and making the kinds of remarks he made before the election about women, which you can't even utter on daytime television or any kind of media, attacking the media, CNN and NBC as the enemy of the people, and much worse, that sends the wrong message about our Parliament, which is admired all over the world, and we need to protect the reputation of our Parliament.
Here's where I have a problem with you on this, with all respect, right? Of course, those remarks should be condemned, and they're condemned by our Prime Minister. But you are quite happy to welcome President Xi of China, it wasn't just remarks, their policies are so awful on human rights, but you are okay.
I'm not endorsing it. I didn't endorse it. Sorry, I didn't endorse it.
Thank you both very much indeed. That debate later on today in Westminster Hall.